Pledge. I'm going to ask Jerry Sartain to lead us in the pledge, please. Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. Call roll, please.
Here. Here.
Linda Dansby, Joe Machado, Jerry Sartain, Tony Webb, Zane Cantrell.
Present.
Mr. Chairman, we do have a quorum, and Mr. Machado will be voting in Ms. Dansby's absence.
Okay, Joe Machado, you will be the voting alternate for this meeting. We have the minutes that were mailed out to us. Do you see any changes that need to be made in the minutes? I'll entertain a motion that they be approved then. We have a second?
I second.
All those in favor say aye. The minutes are approved. Let me welcome each of you here today and give you a little bit of an idea of how we will proceed. We will have first a report on each item that comes before us by our staff members. Following that, we will allow those of you who have a request before us to come to the podium here and give us any additional information, or you may need to answer some questions that the board would have of you. Following that, we will have a public hearing for those of you who would like to speak for or against the request that we have. We would ask that you keep your remarks within 3 minutes, stick to the point of, and the point would be the request, the actual request that comes before us, and we'll give each of you that would like to have a time to make any comments to the board before we vote to be able to do that. And then following the public hearing, then we'll give you a answer on our best thinking. The first item we have is a request by Fred Kinney, who is requesting a permit to allow established or a secondary structure.
Application 2010-001, filed by Fred Kinney, involves the property located at 4170 South Rucker Road. It's a 3.46 acre parcel. It's zoned residential 15, and they are seeking conditional use permit to allow the establishment of an accessory structure prior to a principal structure in the R15 zoning district. The property itself right now is a 5.54 acre site. It is being subdivided by the applicant into a 2.06 acre site and a 3.46 acre site. When that actual subdivision plat is recorded, it's going to create a situation where you have an accessory structure on a property prior to the principal structure. It is the applicant's intentions to construct a home within a short period of time on the newly created lot, but would like conditional use approval to allow that existing structure to remain until the construction of the single-family residence. Staff finds that it meets the conditions for conditional use permit with the recommendations for conditions by staff. And we'll have pictures of the property itself. The white building that you see that stands out more than the others, that is the actual structure, and we will have a drawing of the site plan. This is the surrounding area. It's rural, open fields, several homes. And that shows the actual subdivision and the lot that we are discussing. That's the location of the existing structure once that property line is created, and that this site plan demonstrates that it meets the setbacks for accessory structures. And that concludes staff's presentation.
Okay. Do we have anyone here representing this request? If you'll come around to the podium, give us your name and any additional information you'd like to share with this.
My name is Leonard Tusar. I'm a surveyor representing Mr. Kinney. I'm preparing the subdivision map for him, and of course indicated to him, since there was an accessory structure going to be on the proposed lot, that he would have to get a conditional use permit prior to that. His intention, of course, is to divide the property into 2 parcels, and this parcel is actually going to be conveyed to his daughter and son-in-law for the purpose of them constructing a home.
Do you have a timetable of when that home would be built?
The condition with regards to the 1 year, that I'm not certain of. But, you know, if that's the condition on the conditional use, that would be in the process then to do that.
Now, what is the purpose of this structure?
It is a storage shed. It stores Mr. Kinney's farm tractor and some other items that he has. But he has other, you know, another garage that he can store that material in, and those other pieces of equipment.
So this would be his personal storage there.
Yes.
Okay. Any questions from the board? Thank you. We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on this request. Close the public hearing. We have a motion on it.
Make a motion be approved.
Have a motion that be approved with the recommendations from our staff.
Absolutely.
Okay. Do we have a second? Second. Tony. Call the roll, please.
Keith,
Yes.
Joe, Jerry, Tony, Zane.
Yes.
Motion carries, sir.
Okay, it is approved. The next item we have is a request by David Steele, who is requesting a temporary parking permit for a camping trailer.
Application 2010-002, filed by David Steele, involves the property located at 12126 Highway 96 or Franklin Road. It's a 5.59 acre parcel. It is zoned residential 15. He is seeking conditional use permit for the temporary approval of a parking permit for an occupied camping trailer in the R15 zone. The camper already exists on the property and is occupied, and the applicant was notified by codes that he needed to come in and get this matter resolved. Because the property is in litigation regarding the ownership with an adjacent property, we recommended that the applicant ask for a temporary parking permit until that court matter is resolved. Staff has concerns regarding the application's ability to meet the conditions for conditional use approval, specifically Article 7, Section 7.02, A, B, and C. But if the board considers to approve the application, staff recommends conditions. And this is the site itself. It's long and narrow. This is another aerial of the site close up where you see the location of the actual structures. This is the site in its current condition. He was permitted to build an accessory structure to the mobile home that was under his ownership at the time, but it's not under his ownership now, so we have an accessory structure without a principal, but we're awaiting the final court disposition. This accessory structure, a couple sheds, there's chickens, pigs, and animals on the property. You can see the camper in the background with a small porch. Just more pictures of the condition of the property. There's building supplies being stored at the property, but the accessory structure is not yet complete either. electricity is being supplied by those electrical poles. And that's how electricity is being run to the camper. Obviously, it's temporary. And staff is concerned about the dumping of sewage and how that is taking place. It looks as though, according to the gentleman that was at the site, that the hose runs up to that point and it goes to a sewer line that goes on an adjacent property. So, and staff has received calls, 2 indicating that they were against, and informational calls regarding this application, and that concludes staff's presentation.
Do we have anyone here representing this request? If you'll come around, please, give us your name here at the podium. Also, board members, you have pictures that have been submitted, and you have those in your packet. Yeah, they have it. You're right here. Give us your name and any additional information.
I'm David Steele. I'm the one that has the property in question. Right now, I'm in the process of appealing a court judgment with the neighbor. The property was 13 acres, and that's what my deed calls for, and the road frontage. Apparently, at some time when the neighbor bought the property, he changed on his deed the property description of my property and changed it from 245 feet to 110 feet, which engulfs and includes the house trailer that was on our property. The house trailer has been abandoned for 30 years and has been on our property since then. When I went out to start working and developing the property is when I came into the conflict with the neighbor. And we've been going through this about 4 years now, and I thought it would be settled this last summer. Thought it had won the case, and the judge came back and gave my property to the neighbor. So right now, I'm in the process. I would already have a house built there. There's a septic system there. I've talked to the water department and groundwater department. They said for approval of the septic tank, to get it grandfathered in, that I should set up a structure and use the septic tank for at least 6 months, and they would come out and re-inspect it. In that time, the judgment came in, and right now I've got animals out there that I'm trying to have somebody look after. The trailer itself is a place for my person to stay in that's watching over the animals. I'd like to keep him out there because, you never know when they're going to get out a fence or something like that. And he just, takes care of them all the time.
Mr. Steele, it seems like you've got a lot of information that you've shared with us here. Some of it is not even pertinent to what we'll be looking at.
Okay.
We need to look at directly on whether it would be appropriate for you to place a camper there on a temporary basis.
Uh-huh.
So that would be the only thing that we would be looking at. The other parts, you're already in the process of handling that.
Yes, sir.
Let me ask you this. How long have you had this camper out on the property?
Approximately a year.
A year. And you've had someone in that for a year?
Well, I've had somebody staying out there off and on
Yeah.
to watch over the property and the animals and stuff.
Okay. Were you aware that you needed a permit?
No, when I first set the trailer up, I went to the planning department and asked for a permit to put the trailer up there. And they
Okay.
said no such permit existed.
Yeah, it
And
does.
so I was like, okay, if
Yeah.
no permit exists, then I'm okay.
Yeah.
And that was my reasoning.
Okay. Do you have sewage of any kind?
That's the reason I got a camping trailer, because it has a black water and a gray water tank on the system, so I can drain the tank, then dispose of the sewage and everything. During this process, too, someone has called the EPA, thinking that I had been dumping the raw sewage out on the ground or something. They came out, checked over the whole place, gave us a clean bill.
Do you have certification of that from them? Did they give you a letter? or
No,
anything?
they didn't give me a letter, yes or no, but the person that I have out there had talked to him and said, there's nothing that.
Okay, how do you take care of that?
There is a septic tank which originally was on the property, and at the time the septic tank was on the property, there were 3 house trailers, 2 of them which were clearly on my property, and the one that's remaining was on the other property that Mr. Butler's claiming now.
Okay, so you're
And
running
all
it-
3 of them were into the same septic system, so the pipe running from the septic
Okay.
tank runs over across the line, clearly onto my undisputed property.
Okay,
And that's why I've been doing it, because like I said, the water department board said to run it in there for 6 months, and then they would check and see if there's any ground seepage.
who told you that?
At the water department, is what they told me.
All right.
Because I asked to have it re-inspected, and they said the only way they could re-inspect it is if it is in use.
Have you had the county people to look at
Yes,
it?
yes, I have.
And what did they say?
They said use it for 6 months, and
6
then call
months,
them back.
okay. Now, you're talking about a temporary use of this camper. What is the length of time? Can you give us?
Well, we're in the appeal of I'm in the appeal process now. They were supposed to return a statement back the 1st of January, and they've postponed it because they fired their lawyer, and they're actually suing that lawyer now for the defense of this. It's a long story.
Yeah, I don't really
So-
want to get into that. So
So
are you looking?
they've postponed our appeals.
So you're looking at 6
Sometime in-
months, year, or what?
Yeah, sometime in February. And it depends on my neighbor, Mr. Butler, as to how long he wants to take this out and how many more appeals that I have to go through.
Okay. Keith?
Yes, sir. I got I think some same concerns our chairman does. I want to make sure I'm correct on this. You had said that the trailer that's in question been there abandoned for 30 years. That's
Yes,
not
sir.
my concern. But it being there abandoned for 30 years, the septic system that was there was what had been used by that structure, correct?
You're correct.
Okay. But you're saying now the temporary trailer that you have there, that's the septic system that you're using?
Yes, sir.
Okay. My next question is, if that's been abandoned for 30 years, not being used, now you're using it, has the state environmental from the county here, have they came out and re-inspected that and gave you, saying that system can be used?
No, they haven't, because after the 6 months, I put the trailer in, and I think it was January of last year.
Right.
And July is when I had the judgment against me, which would have been my 6 months to
Okay,
have
so
them come back out.
right, so you kind of see where, if we granted you this, we'd be granting you to put this there, but you have no way to get rid of your sewage because this sewage system has not been approved by the environmental department.
Okay, and then they told me the only thing that they would check for is to see if there's any outcroppings on the ground for sewage, and I haven't.
I don't know what procedures they would use to approve that system, but I'm just saying.
I could call them back and have them come back out and check, make sure.
Well, I mean, if you're gonna have any kind of structure out there that you're gonna be running sewage on, if you're not gonna run it, I mean, I wouldn't suggest you run it on the ground, but you need to be it needs to be going to a system that's operable.
approved. Yes, sir.
Right. Thank you.
Anyone else? Joe?
I got 2 or 3 questions. How many animals you got out there? What kind and how many?
I've got 2 pigs and approximately 15 to 20 chickens.
You're a house builder, right?
Yes, I am.
You used to build houses in Brentwood, right?
Yes, I do.
Do you store building material out there? Is that what you're concerned about, your building material?
The only building material I've got out there is leftover materials from jobs that I'm gathering up to build a barn, which I already have a permit to build further back on the property.
But right now, you catching your sewer in those tanks on that camper?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you a lot.
Jerry?
I'm understanding that a conditional parking permit is for a non-occupied vehicle, but you're wanting someone to live in this?
I would like for them to stay out there to watch over the animals and the property, yes, sir.
You're talking about not a place to be for a couple hours. You're talking about overnight, a permanent residence.
Well, where you can spend the night out there, yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you. We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who would like to speak on this request. If you'll come around, please, and give us your name and any information you'd like to share. Either for or against, doesn't matter. Well, we understand.
I'm
That's
sorry.
okay.
Thank you for hearing me, though. My name is Amy Roberts. I currently reside at 12200 Franklin Road. We bought the property back in May of 2006, which this property is, adjacent to the property of Mr. Steele. At the time when we purchased it, it was vacant. Mr. Steele acquired it from his father shortly after we began construction. To gain access to the property, David Steele would have to use our road frontage along with Mr. Butler's before he built himself a garage and then later laid pipe and gravel onto 96 to make him a road. He did tell us that he was a framer and that he was going to use the property to put a garage for his building materials. And that was what he was going to use the property for. And then, once he built the garage, we noticed lights on at night, water hoses going through the window, a man staying out there, a porta potty put on the property. So my husband approached him. He said that it was one of his employees by the name, I think, Mike, I'm not sure, that he was going to be living there because he was going through a divorce. Codes was called on that, about the gentleman living in the garage. Soon after that, that camper arrived. It's been there a little over a year, with this gentleman still occupying it. He does have several chickens, a couple of pigs, a couple of dogs, and a lot of outbuildings started coming up, being constructed on the property. It's my understanding that he wanted this permit for security purposes, so that this gentleman could watch over his property. Because of the lawsuit he has going on with Mr. Butler, who also owns the property to the east of Mr. Steele. Since the security reason was one of the reasons for the permit, I wanted the board to be aware that it's actually been Mr. Butler who had to go back to court to have an order placed against Mr. Steele by Judge Corlew back on the 24th of August of this 2009 to ask Mr. Steele to stay off his property because he was encroaching onto Mr. Steele's property. He's also, on several occasions, encroached on ours. My husband, however, has asked him to stay off, and he has cooperated and has not been on since. I'm obviously against him getting this permit. Just besides the fact that it's a neighboring eyesore to have to drive past it, and I pass it every single day to come up and down my driveway. But also, it's my opinion that the conditional permit would not meet some additional standards of general applicability. Sorry, dry mouth. One would be that the camper and building materials on the property have a visual negativity effect on our property and its value. We built a nice custom home out there. We have to drive past his camper, his chicken coops, I'm sorry. Okay, there's a lot of other debris just laying around, so his garages have not been used to store his materials. The ground has been his storage. My main concern, though, is how sanitary it is. We have a lot of sinkholes. We have one 75 feet away from Mr. Steele's camper. We're not quite certain where this waste is going. And we also have a well. And, we don't want his, pig from the pig pen, chicken coop, or the camper, we don't going on the ground, possibly in the sinkholes. Plus, we have a wet weather creek that goes not only in front of our property, but Mr. Steele's and Mr. Butler's. So I am totally against it.
Thank you very much. Any questions from the board? Joe?
Is your house right at the camp?
I can't see that. I don't have my glasses on. Can I come?
Is your house?
This is how
This is the camp.
we are this side.
So
Way back in the back.
we don't have to see this.
Oh. Where these trees will be, and he's made a bit of a driveway.
If we have anyone else, if you'll be coming around at this time, like to speak on this request. Great. We have 3 minutes.
Okay, I'm Roy Butler, and I have the property east of Mr. Steele on the Murfreesboro side. When I moved out there in 1989, we bought 25 acres. I stayed out there. I've owned the property since '89. Have been out there bush hogging, maintained the driveway, etc. And had no problem for years. And then Mr. Steele tries to come start encroaching on our property. And this trailer that he says he owns, he has never owned, in my opinion. Judge Corlew upheld my belief that I own the property. The septic tank that he's saying he's trying to use is on my property. He's under court order and he's got an injunction not to get on my property, or his assigns and other folks associated with him are not to get on my property. It has been appealed by Mr. Steele. Judge Corlew rendered the decision. It's a state order, as I understand it. My 25 acres is intact. He has no business doing anything on my property in the septic tank there. He has never owned this trailer. The trailer is uninhabitable. I mean, it doesn't. If I'm understanding correctly, you have to have a dwelling there to have an RV or a camper there, a habitable trailer. This trailer, the wiring wouldn't be any good. I don't think the septic system, the water supply. I've never supplied water to it. When I first got the place, I did supply electricity for a while to the trailer. Mr. Steele has never done anything of the sort. This is a storage building we've used. My predecessor in title, his kids used it for a playhouse. But this is an uninhabitable trailer that he's trying to say is his principal residence out there, and he's getting an RV in association with it. The way I read this code, that's completely unacceptable. And I of course, am against this permit that he's wanting to get. He also allows his chickens, his dogs, I guess his hogs too, to run loose. The dogs have tried to attack me several times while I've been on my property. If I hadn't been aware, I would have been bitten. But he's doing nothing to promote and create a good situation in the area. Everything he's been, in my opinion, out there has been a detriment to our neighborhood, and I'm vehemently opposed to this temporary parking permit.
Thank you. We have a question here.
I got a question. Was this property not surveyed?
Yes, sir. Robert Francis surveyed it for 25 acres. Mr. Steele has a general boundary description.
Do we have anyone else that would like to speak on this? If you would come up at this time while there's...
And found pins, whatever he needed to do to do a survey, he did it, and he said it was correct, and if he had to do it again, he'd do exactly as he did it back in '89.
Okay.
And we've had prior surveys back to 1961,
Yeah,
40-something years.
let's cut that because that's
Okay.
not what we're
Okay.
considering.
What-
Joe?
One question I have is, you said that the septic tank that he's using is on the property that's in question, right? Close to this
I
trailer
didn't
or whatever?
realize he was running sewage over there into it. I found something out today, you know, I'm, and it's on my property, and Judge Corlew, the chancellor here, I'm sure you know him, has
Okay.
enjoined him from doing anything on that property. The way I read the court order, it's recorded up there. You know, we had a trial back in July, and he's in violation, I guess, criminal contempt and doing anything on that parcel.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Keith?
Well, he kind of answered my question a little bit. I just want to
Yes.
make sure that we're talking about the same septic system. I mean, I know you don't know totally maybe what's on his property, but
I don't know if he's got one over there.
right. But you're saying the one that you think is in question is the one that he's referring to that's
You know,
on your property.
If he's running it over there into that septic tank in front of the trailer that I own, that's on my property, the septic tank. There's one septic tank I know of. I don't trespass on his property.
I understand.
He's trespassed all on mine.
I
So I don't know what's on his property. I know what's on mine,
I understand. Thank you.
though.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak on this request? All right, we'll close the public hearing. Commissioner Williams, I was about to cut you off there. I'm sorry.
Ronald Williams, I'm commissioner from out in that district. Back on the point of this ability for him to use that, as staff has pointed out, it is not recommended in sections 7 or in section 13. Also, I'd like to point out that in sections 804, since this is considered a use, that there are no use variations that shall be granted, period, in section 804. So all of the other would be somewhat prohibitive, but in order to get a special use permit, according to the standards and proof requirements, section A, it says use variations, no use variations shall be granted. So with all the problems besides that, it would be my hope and that y'all would turn this one down just because of all of the potential problems if we do go against our own regulations in this, not whether we agree with one side or the other side, but our regulations pretty much are clear from what I look at over these times, particularly since Section 804 says that those use should not be done. So I would hope that you would not approve this and go with the staff's recommendation.
Anyone else? Close the public hearing. Let me just point out to all people here, the only thing that we're looking at is whether this is applicable to our standards, that is, having a trailer parked there. So that's the only, there are other issues, underlining issues, and we're not dealing with that. We're only dealing with this one issue. So I'll entertain a motion on this.
Mr. Chairman, exactly what the commissioner was talking about, and the staff recommends denial for those same reasons. I move we deny.
Okay, we have a denial based upon the recommendation of our staff, and it's stated here. Do we have a second?
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Keith,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Tony,
Yes.
Zane.
Yes.
Motion is unanimous, sir, and the motion did carry.
Okay, it is denied. The next item of business we have is a request by Gilbert Olrund, if I'm pronouncing that correct, who is requesting an additional or a variance for an additional 900 square feet of accessory structure. Now, this would be a total of 3,400 square feet, and this is in an R15 zone. What do you have on it?
Application 2010-003 filed by Gilbert Ollerud involves the property located at 5496 Almaville Road. It's a 6.5 acre parcel and a zone residential 15. He is seeking a variance to allow an additional 900 square feet of accessory structure area for a total of 3,400 square feet in the R15 zone. Based on his property size of being 6.5 acres, he is entitled to 2,500 square feet. Currently, he has an existing detached garage, above-ground pool, and decking, which, coupled with the proposed structure of 1,500 square feet, will total 3,400 square feet. Therefore, he needs, before he constructs this additional detached storage area, an additional 900 square feet. The applicant has not identified any situations that would make compliance difficult, and it does not meet the variance criteria. However, staff wants to draw your attention to Section 805 that is quoted in the staff report, and we will show you copies. I mean, the site itself, this is the property in question, and staff posted the sign. The subject residence, surrounding properties in all directions. This is the above-ground pool with decking. That's the existing detached garage. This is the rear of the subject residence, and the garage again. A detached garage located on an adjacent property. The applicant has supplied us with a plot plan showing the location of the proposed accessory structure. He indicates that he will be meeting the setbacks for detached accessory structures, which is 5 feet for the side and rear. And he's proposing it to be located slightly behind the above-ground pool on the property. And that concludes staff's presentation.
Do we have anyone here representing this request? If you'll come around, please. Come around. If you'll give us your name and any additional information.
I'm Mr. Gilbert Olerud. The only information is probably just personal storage. Put a few things inside, make them last a while.
Why do you need the additional square footage?
Personal storage.
Okay. What do you have, though, that...
Oh, a truck, another truck, maybe a lawnmower, tractor. Try to keep them inside.
If the amount of room that you have now currently under our standards, would that not be enough to take care of your storage, or is there some other underlying reason that you would have for it?
For the building?
Yes.
No.
The building is already built, is that correct?
Oh, no. No, I got a outbuilding that I got a couple cars in, and I got a couple sitting outside.
Okay.
Yeah, I got just,
Keith?
this structure that you're requesting, you're going to build here, is it going to be a 30 by 50?
Yes, they call it post-frame building.
A what,
A
sir?
post-frame building.
Okay. And besides this structure or garage for personal storage, I think there's staff comments. There's already 3 detached accessory structures that are already on your property. One is a pool house, and what are the other 2?
Oh, the other would be, I guess, the building with a wall between it, connected to the outbuilding.
Okay. Do you have any other garage type structure on your property? Okay. This would be a garage with doors on where you park your vehicles. This, that, and the other. Personal. Okay. Thank you.
The one garage has got a building, but not with a pass-through door. So that, and I guess they're calling the deck and the pool and that garage 2 outbuildings.
Thank you.
Mr. Olerud, I'm going by the picture there. There seems to be like a tree line between you and your neighbor. Is that true?
Looks like a whole lot of trees all over the place.
So is there a tree line between you and your neighbor?
There is somewhat of a line there.
Where you were going to put the building, is it going to be taking any of those trees down? Will your neighbor, will it be right up next to his driveway?
Probably the 40 or 50 foot that the building is, that section's got to come out, I would say. But the tree line, that would be 20 foot off the property line.
Uh-huh. Okay.
The tree line that's between us and the neighbors, and then we got the other property, probably a row of trees 2 or 3 foot off the property line.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you. We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on this request. You can go ahead and be seated. If you'll come around, give us your name and any additional information.
My name is Pamela Ramsey Staples, and I live adjacent to Mr. Olerud. And we're for the structure. We're not against it. We're for it. We had a talk about it. We just had a couple more questions that we wanted to ask. And you asked about the tree line. There is a tree line in between that, okay? And Mr. Olerud has already removed some of the trees that are in the line, and we spoke about it. So that's not a problem. I guess we just wanted to be sure that it would be 5 foot away from the property line. And it's already been surveyed, so the little markers are right there, so that's not a problem. My concern is the height of the structure. We're not really clear as to what the height of the structure would be. We'd like to know what the height of it would be, and we'd like to know what type of material would be used to build the structure. But again, as I said, we're for it, but we'd like to make sure that we understand. And Mr. Olerud has already indicated that he's just going to store additional things in there. There's not going to be a working situation where he's going to be doing anything that that is going to be, I guess, electrical or doing any kind of work-related things there, is my understanding. But I really would like to have that clarification, because it is. And what it is there's a tree line, and then there is our privacy fence that comes right there. So it's Mr. Olerud's property, a tree line, and then our privacy fence goes there. So if I understand that, it's 5 feet away from the property line. But we have no problems with the structure being there. So we are for it. Okay.
Thank you. Asking those couple of questions while we're asking for anyone else. You can go over. Yeah. Anyone else? Anyone else? All right, we'll close the public hearing. We have a motion on it.
Make a motion be approved.
Have a motion that be approved. Do we have a second? Jerry? Second. Jerry. Call the roll, please.
Keith,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Jerry, Tony,
Yes.
Zane.
Yes.
Motion carries, sir.
Okay, it is approved. That concludes our business. We have a couple of other things we need to do here. We currently have a chairman, I'm your chair, of course, and a vice chair in case I'm out for some reason, is Jerry Sartain. So we need to elect a chair and a vice chair for the next 2 years. So let's take our chair first. Do I have a motion on that?
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion that you remain our chair.
Zane Cantrell will remain the chair. Do we have a second to that?
I'll second
Joe?
that.
Joe seconds that. And reminder, alternates, you will be voting on this as well. Do we have any other nominations?
I'll make a motion that the nomination cease.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Now, all those in favor of Zane Cantrell remaining chair, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. So you have me for 2 more years. Okay. Now, we have a vice chair that we need to elect. Do we have a nomination? Joe?
I'll nominate Keith Bratcher.
We have a nomination of Keith Bratcher as vice chair. Do we have any other nominations?
Yes, sir.
Pardon?
Yes, sir. I want to
Okay, Joe?
nominate our vice chair back that we
Okay.
already have.
Jerry Sartain?
Jerry Sartain.
Okay. So we have Keith Bratcher and Jerry Sartain as our vice chair. Mr. Attorney, how do you want us to proceed with this? Just let each person vote their conscience. Is that openly? Okay. Call the roll, please. Just vote whichever that you want.
Keith Bratcher,
Abstain.
Joe Crowell,
Keith Bratcher.
Joe Machado,
Jerry Sartain.
Jerry, Tony,
Tony?
Yeah, you heard me.
what did he say?
Sartain or Bratcher?
Sartain. Sartain.
Sartain.
Zane?
Sartain, please.
Okay. Mr. Sartain carries with 4 votes then.
Give us the count, please.
Mr. Sartain had 4, Mr. Bratcher had 1, and there was 1 abstain.
Keith, you didn't vote for yourself, did you? Okay. Jerry, congratulations. Any other business that needs to come before us? Thank you all.
I
do appreciate the confidence that this board has given me in being your chair for the next couple of years. I do thank you for that. I'll try to do the best job that I can. If I'm not doing a good job or need to make some changes, please let me know. We'll try to incorporate that into our meetings the next couple of years. Hopefully, our meetings will go as well as they have the past 2 years that we've been in session here. And thank you again for that vote of confidence.
Confirm on the nomination to cease the recommendation to cease nominations. I didn't get the second on it. Who was the second on that? Keith Bratcher made the recommendation to cease nominations. Who seconded? Yes. I did not pick that up.
Nomination, but you have to second a motion.
Okay, so
I
there
don't
wasn't
know.
one.
I don't know.
Okay. I thought I heard somebody, but I didn't hear who. Okay. All right.
Is that cleared up?
I think so. Yes, sir.
Okay. We stand adjourned. Thank you.